going to quickly go over the solution to questions 11 and 12 in the exam 1, okay, that employ SPSS. So you can see the questions and answers right here, and the feedback right here as well. First of all, let's read the question. Fill out the sample characteristics table below. Use data valid for valid responses only. In other words, ignore missing data. Valid percent column and SPSS output. Make sure you use the following format. Okay, so we're looking for gender, the proportion of gender that's male and female. That's a categorical variable, and the proportion that were at different levels of education, less than high school graduate, or some college or more. So these are a little shifted up a little bit, but you can see that there's 3 categories. Some college or more actually combines 2 categories. We'll see that as we run through this example. So I'm going to look at these 2 variables of demographic 1, demog 1, which is education, which is gender, which is age, and sex, which is the gender one that we're looking for, and education, which is the education levels that we're looking for. I'm going to start with the categorical variables, which are gender or sex and education. The variable names are sex and education. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Blackboard and I'm going to download. Okay, let's see. I'm going to go to the project section, and which is here. Okay, and that'll take us to this page that you see right now. And in the project section, you'll see the data for Community Health Survey of 2011. The SCSV file is a comma delimited file. The .sav is a SPSS file. So I'm going to download that one. I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to save this link to my desktop. One up there already. They're probably going to warn me about that. So I'm going to say replace it. I'll actually download it now. The other thing I might be interested in downloading at the same time is the code book, so that if I'm confused about the variable names, that I have it available to me. On the exam, we were told what the variable names were, so I'm not going to worry about that for the moment. So now that I have that data file that I'm going to need downloaded, I'm not going to need this for now. Okay, let's go back to our question. So our first thing we want to know is the proportion of males versus females, and then we want to know the education levels of these different categories, proportions for each one of these different categories. So I'm going to start up SPSS. As it happens, I already have it open. Okay, and I'm going to ask it to open up this data set. Open data, and I'm going to go to my desktop. Actually, usually it winds up being somewhere like up here, and I have to tell it that I want to go to my desktop, and I have to kind of like trace out the route to my desktop. You might have to do the same thing. Might be a little bit simpler on PC than on the Mac, but for some reason it defaults to the user automatically. So I'm going to hit, there's our data set. I'm going to double click that and open it. Now, if you had it on your desktop, you could likely double click the data file. It would open SPSS and bring you to this right away. So here we are. Here's the different, we're in our data view. We're in our variable view right now. Our data view is here. You can see there's many columns of data here. And if I click on the variable view, you can see these different variables listed vertically. Right, there's a couple of hundred of them probably. So we only need a couple of them. We only need sex, age, and education level. Sex and education level, or demog 1 as it's called for here, are categorical variables. Age is a numerical variable. So for starters, I'm gonna just look at the categorical variables. Now, to find sex in here, the variable name sex, the variable name demog 1 is going to be difficult. So I am going to highlight this column. I'm going to go up to data. Excuse me. Oh, actually, I can actually just right click on it and say sort it ascending. So now, and I can give it some sort of special attributes if I want. I'm going to say no. Okay, and it's in alphabetical order now. So I can go to demog 1, okay, which would be our numeric variable, which represents age. Question actually says, I can split this out. What is your age? So that's our numerical variable. In fact, let's do that first since we have that right here. Okay, so I'm going to go back to data view. Well, I'll stay here. Analyze descriptive statistics, and I'm going to go to Descriptives, let me see how detailed they want our result. Okay, age, they just want the number and the mean. Number of people that were surveyed and the mean. So descriptives is going to be good enough. If I wanted more statistics, I might have gone to Analyze, Descriptive Statistics, Explore. But we'll hold that off for another time. So now I have to go down to Demog 1. Now notice this is showing me the questions, which are not as, which are more descriptives in some ways, but more difficult to find in other ways. I can actually move this around and I can stretch this out so I can see more of the question, including the name, the variable name at the end. So if I was going through here, I purposely moved it up. If I go down to the variable name demo, if you hover over these, it'll actually show you the whole question and the variable name. So I know that's a C. I could find my way down to demographic 1, and I'm going to choose that and move it into my variable box. As options, I'm going to tell it I want the mean. It's already selected, so that's really all I'm being asked for. So I'm going to say OK. Okay, and sure enough, here's our calculation. There were 8,575 respondents. The minimum age was 18. That's by design in the study. Maximum age was 98. And the mean age, which we need, is 52.76. So we just found our answer for number 5 and number 6, 8,000, 85, 75, so on, and the average age, which was 52.76. And I think that should agree with the answer here, if I can find it. Let's see. Here we go. Let's see. Which one was that anyway? That was 5 and 6. Let's see, 5. There we go. Same thing and same thing. Okay. I don't think it asked for the I guess that's a standard deviation. Oh, mean and standard deviation or percent. So yeah, they wanted standard deviation. And indeed, you can see we got those as well. Okay, so let's go back and look at our categorical variables, gender and education. Okay, so again, I have to go back to my, I'm going to work from my output window here. I'm going to go to Analyze, Descriptive Statistics, except this time, since they're categorical variables, I'm going to go into frequencies. And I'm going to find my first variable, which was, let's see, so we had sex and we had education. So I'm going to look for education. It's going to come up first. Okay, let me spread this out a little bit more so I can see more of this. Okay, and I'll hover here, see how far along I am. Current loud noise. Okay, education status, it must be in here somewhere. Let's see, education status. All adults, here it is, education is the variable name. And the bigger description, the label was education status. So I'm going to click on that, move it into this box. Now I'm going to continue, go down to the variable sex. Okay, so that's going to be in yeses. I'll hover here. This is MHJL. Nope, got to go further. Okay, let's see if I've, oh, here we go, sex, male or female. That looks right, and indeed the variable name is sex. I'm going to click on that and move that in here. Okay, so now we're dealing with with a categorical variable, right? So we're not interested in any of these kinds of things. We're interested just in the frequencies, and that'll SPSS will calculate that for us. We're not going to be interested in any kind of mean or anything like that. Not going to be relevant to a categorical variable. So we have our two variables in here. I'm going to click OK, and it will display. Notice over here is where we tell it to display the frequency tables. Notice it warned me that once you unclick that, then nothing's clicked and nothing's going to come out as output. So I'm going to leave that on. I'm going to display our frequency tables, which is what we're after. I'm going to click OK, and sure enough, here are our frequency tables. I'll start with the simpler one for sex, male or female, 40.4 and 59.6 out of the valid responses. And let's see if that matches our answer here. 40.4 and 59.6. Did I read that right? Yes, 59.6. As far as education is concerned, things are a little bit more complicated there. We have 1, which represents less than high school, is 14.5%, right? 14.5%, and that's our frequency. And 2, which represents high school graduate, is 1876 and 21.5%. We have that here. But now 3 we're only being asked for a single number which represents both 3 and 4, some college and college graduates. So you effectively have to take these numbers, add them together, take these percentages, add them together. So you should wind up with the sum of these two numbers, 5596, and the sum of these two percentages, which is 64.1 for some college and college graduate for this. So that should be it. Those are your outputs, and that's the way you should be able to get to them. If you didn't get these percentages, I would check to make sure that you downloaded the correct version of the New York City Community Health Survey. Maybe you got 2012 or 2010, or maybe even a different year instead of this current year, because you might get very similar results for the distribution of male and female and the age and the education categories, and even the average age, right? You might get very similar results if they're only a year or two apart, but there will be undoubtedly be a difference, a small difference, albeit. Okay, so maybe if you got a slightly different answer, could be because you were working with a different data set. Okay, I hope this helps. If you got questions, put them onto the discussions board on Blackboard or email them. Make sure if you email them, make sure you put BIOS 610 in the subject line so that we don't miss it very easily. Thank you. Bye.